There's a really simple guitar mod that hardly anyone seems to bother with nowadays. It can unlock a bunch of new tones, and today I'm going to be using my custom switcher with this mod so you can hear the differences instantly and in real time. There is also this really clever hidden sort of bonus mod that I'll show you a bit later on. The mod that I'm talking about today is simply swapping your guitar's tone capacitor for different values. Most guitars worldwide only use 2 common values, but today we're going to be going beyond that, testing those, but also a bunch of other very musical and usable options. Right, we're going to crack into these tests. Now, if you like this sort of stuff, please hit that like button because it just lets me know that you want me to make more of this sort of content. So what I've done is I've modified this Strat here, so both these 2 tone controls are now completely disconnected. And essentially my tone circuitry and controllers moved to this box down here. I can still change my pickups, I can still change my volume, but I've got a short cable going to this box over here, and that's where my tone control and circuit is housed. And I can change different capacitors by flicking these switches and different combinations of these switches. For most of this, I'm just going to stick to the neck pickup until we do that sort of secret bonus mod section. So let's go through these capacitors. First up, we've got a 100 nanofarad capacitor. That's a pretty stock vintage capacitor for single coil guitars. I see it a lot in older Fenders and anything with single coils. Next, we've got a 68 nanofarad capacitor. That is a bit more rare. You don't see that one too often, but it is out there, so I wanted to include that in the test. Next is the stock standard 47 nanofarad capacitor. That's the one you see in every Fender guitar pretty much. Anything with single coils, most of the time it's going to have 47 nanofarad. Then next down the chain, we have got a 22 nanofarad capacitor. That is the stock Gibson capacitor. Next, we have a 15 nanofarad cap. Now, I don't see this often, occasionally the odd boutique guitar or custom build where they just want to tweak that tone response. Next down the chain, we've got a 10 nanofarad cap. Now, same sort of deal. Don't see this one too often, but I have seen it in a few guitars before. Lastly, I've put a 4.7 nanofarad cap in there, mostly because it works really well with that secret mod that I'm going to show you a bit later on, but also it has a very unique response with a tone control, so I thought it'd be quite a fun one to include. I'm going to show you what a no-load tone circuit sounds like now. So if I use just a standard 47 nanofarad cap like with a Strat. Okay, so this is what it sounds like normally. So you can hear there's a tiny amount of extra top end that you get when you're using a no-load control. It's pretty small, but it's there, right? So let's go through these capacitors now with the tone at 10. So we're going to start with that 100 nanofarad all the way down to that 4.7 nanofarad. So you can hear it sounds pretty similar across all those different values when the tone control is at 10. But if we roll it down, that's where you're going to really start noticing. So if we go to 8, okay, so it's still a no load, so it's not doing anything at this point. You can definitely hear a difference there. The bigger the capacitor, the more aggressive that roll off is. Let's go down to around about 3. A lot more noticeable results down there. So if let's have a play through these sweeps now. I've rolled that tone down to 7. I'm going to have a quick play through some of these caps. It's quite interesting. The smaller caps definitely have more of a presence control vibe than a straight up tone control. Definitely worth experimenting with. You can really hone in your tone control because a lot of people don't use it because it can just go insanely dark really quickly, and by using smaller values you can really sort of tweak it in and have it more as something that you would actually use. Now that brings me to the next like sort of secret mod here that's hidden inside this. Now if you've watched this channel before, you'd know about the green Gizmo pickup revoicer. Now that is a project that I put together so people can revoice their own pickups by adding capacitors in parallel with them instead of just buying new pickups. It's a really, really cool, handy little project, and I will link it down in the description. Now this essentially kind of does the same thing. When you've got a capacitor on your tone control, when you roll your tone control down, what actually happens is each pickup has something called a resonant peak, which is like a boosted range of frequencies. And as you roll that tone control down, that resonant peak sort of diminishes until you get all the way to the bottom of the tone control, where the tone control is completely shorted out. That puts that capacitor in parallel with your pickup, shifting that resonant peak. So a little new peak appears, a new range of boosted frequencies at a lower sort of point. Now this is where that 4.7 nanofarad is quite handy, and even the 10 nanofarad, but 4.7 is quite often what I get asked to put in parallel with a bridge pickup on a Strat. I'm going to do this with the 4.7 nanofarad capacitor. Now as we roll down, you'll hear that resonant peak that the pickup has slowly gets diminished until we get all the way to the bottom, and you can almost hear where it starts boosting that new frequency range. So that's all the way off with a 4.7 nanofarad in parallel. You can hear it's really pushing in that sort of low mid range. That's what it normally sounds like. Probably a little dark for me, to be honest. I'd probably put something slightly smaller in there, maybe like a 2.2 nanofarad or a 3.7 or something. But it works with every cap. And that's the whole thing behind that clapped-in woman tone. A little bit dark there with that 100 nanofarad, but it's definitely worth playing around with. I think it's one of those really overlooked mods when you think about how often people actually use the tone control. If you just tweaked it so it had a bit more of a usable range, you'd probably find yourself reaching down there a lot more often, sort of sculpting the sound on the fly in your guitar. So I'd definitely urge people to play with some different values, and I hope that really helped narrow it down for you. So let me know in the comments what would be your pick as far as tone cap goes. For me, I like those smaller values, 22 nanofarad down, but if you're using a lot of heavy fuzz and a lot of heavy distortion, you probably find the bigger caps are going to have a lot more of an effect. So anyway guys, have a great week, and we'll catch you in the next video.